everyone. Thank you for joining me in a brand new Pivot webinar. Today, we're going to talk about something that many teams are trying to solve right now: how to reduce meetings without losing alignment. Most teams don't actually want more meetings. What they want is clearer communication, better visibility into work, and a way to keep decisions from disappearing. So, in this session, we'll walk you through how teams build a meeting like workflow using Pivot. We'll look at the habits, structures, and tools that allow work to move forward asynchronously while still keeping everyone connected. So, first, let's take a look at the agenda. First, we'll go through meeting overload, problem and solution, then the core elements of a sync culture, then setting up spaces for ongoing collaboration. After that, using posts, chat, polls, and pages, then a sample weekly workflow. After that, we'll have a Q&A section, and finally some closing remarks. So, most teams are spending too much time in meetings: daily stand ups, status updates, weekly check ins, alignment calls, decision meetings, and the list goes on. At first, these meetings feel necessary because teams need coordination and meetings seem like the fastest way to get to it. But over time, something starts to happen. Work slows down. Instead of building, people are preparing updates. Instead of making progress, people are waiting for the next meeting to move forward. And when the meeting ends, the content often disappears. So a decision might live in someone else's notes, a plan might live in a document that no one revisits, a discussion might live in a chat thread that scrolls away. So when someone new joins the project or someone returns from PTO, they have to reconstruct what happened. The problem is not communication, the problem is how communication is structured. Most tools encourage constant conversation, but they don't preserve context. Messages disappear, meetings end, documents multiplied, and the result is a lot of activity, but not always clarity. So, Pivot was designed to solve this exact problem. Instead of treating communication as something temporary, Pivot connects communication directly to the work. Updates, plans, decisions, and conversations all live in the same environment. So, teams can use spaces to organize areas, plans, live in pages. Post rooms are used for async updates and decisions. You have chat rooms for quick discussions, audio and video rooms for short calls when voice helps, and polls and goal blocks to move work forward. So the objective here is simple: reduce the need for meetings while making work easier to follow. Before we talk about tools, we need to talk about habits. Asynchronous teams work best when expectations are clear. So most teams start with a simple rule. For example, updates can live in a post room, not in a meeting. Question begins in a chat room thread. Decisions are written down with a short summary. Calls often happen when voice adds value, and results from calls are posted back in writing. So these rules create predictability. New hires learn the workflow quickly, team members know where to post updates, and leaders know where to look for progress. Everything has a home. Once the communication habits are clear, the next step is organizing the workspace. In Pivot, work lives inside spaces. Space represents a real unit of responsibility. So it can be a product team, a marketing initiative, a regional rollout, or an operational program. And inside a space, teams bring together everything related to that work. So you can have pages for documentation and planning, goals to track progress and outcomes, rooms for communication events connected to work, and blogs like polls, forms, and infinite canvases. This matters because the structure stays consistent and the space evolves with the work. Once a space exists, teams can run most coordination asynchronously. So several pivot features make this possible. First, we have post rooms that they can replace recurring status meetings. Teams post structured updates such as what shipped, what is next, what's blocked, risks, and relevant links, and everyone reaches the same thread, and this becomes the record of the week. Then, chat rooms. Chat rooms handle short form conversations, so you can open one chat room per project or squad, start one thread per topic, and end the thread with a clear outcome. Then we have polls. Instead of scheduling meetings for decisions, teams can run polls. So the pattern is simple. For example, first, you write one paragraph explaining the options. Two, attach one poll. Three, set a closing time, and people vote when they're available. And once that poll closes, the decision is logged. This keeps work moving across time zones. One of the biggest challenges in async collaboration is documentation. Too often, plans live in documents that get detached from the conversation. In Pivot, teams keep documentation inside pages. So, a typical working page may include goals, constraints, plans, decisions, and link related to the work. And pages support live document editing so teams can collaborate in real time when needed. Comments stay attached to the exact part of the document they reference, and instead of sending attachments back and forth, teams evolve the same artifact. Over time, this knowledge accumulates, and that means fewer repeated explanation and fewer lost decisions. A sync culture does not eliminate voice communication. It simply uses it more intentionally. Pivot supports this with audio and video rooms, so teams can usually use them for short unblocker conversations, office hours, design reviews, incident response, and the key habit is simple. After the conversation ends, the output gets posted back into the space. And sometimes teams also record the session and clip the important part. That way, people who missed the conversation can still catch up. Many teams follow a simple weekly rhythm. So on Monday, the owner publishes the week plan page. Goals for the week are listed, and risks and dependencies are noted. Tuesday, chat threads resolve quick questions and short audio huddles and block complex issues. Then on Wednesday, teams post demos or updates in the post room and polls settle open decisions. Then on Thursdays, contributors focus on writing and building, and pages evolve through documentation and collaboration. And lastly, on Friday, have leads who can publish a weekly wrap up, what shipped, what moved metrics, and what will continue next week. This cadence keeps work moving without filling the calendar. Okay, now we have the Q&A section. First question, how is Pivot different from chat first tools like Slack? Okay, so most chat tools prioritize conversation, but conversation alone does not preserve context. Pivot connects communication to the work itself. So teams can use post rooms for structured updates, pages for documentation and planning, chat rooms for quick discussions, and polls for decisions. And this keeps conversations anchored to the elements that matter. Next question, how does Pivot reduce meetings? Pivot replaces many meetings with structured async workflows. So, one example includes weekly updates posted in post rooms, decisions can be resolved through polls, questions can be handled in chat rooms, and documentation involves inside living pages with live editing. So, voice is still available through audio and video rooms, but it is used intentionally rather than constantly. Last question, how does Pivot help distributed teams? So, async workflows work especially well for distributed teams because Pivot supports this by allowing teams to post updates that everyone can read later, run polls that can close across time zones, keep documentation centralized, and record and clip important video or voice discussions. This allows teams to move forward even when schedules do not overlap. So we have come to the